Hi, this is Linda with No Frills ASMR. I thought today we could talk about how you score a game of bowling. I know this isn't like a hot topic that you need to know because I think all the new bowling alleys, well, new, current bowling alleys, have automatic scoring. They count up how many pins you hit down and they just score it for you. But if you're curious how to do old school scoring, that's what we're going to talk about today. So this won't be about like all the ins and outs of bowling, just about how you score the game. Maybe I'll do another video on sort of, what to expect when you go bowling. That could be fun if you've never bowled before. So maybe I'll do that. But here's a bowling ball. But look, actually, it would make it cute. Oh. Anyway, all right. So, I'm not like a professional bowler. However, in 1982, 83, I was on the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church Bowling League team. And while I was there, I think I was 12 years old, I went from all gutter balls to like getting a 73 or something. And so I was given the trophy for most improved, probably girl on the team back in those days. But this is not actually the trophy. This is a recreation. And I've written my name on it. I sometimes collect vintage bowling trophies. I have this one too. I'll just show you. This is probably from the 1950s. This woman in her skirt bowling. It's like marble. It's pretty cool. Anyway, okay. So, can we get my trophy? No. I wish you could just admire it, but all right. So yeah, we're not going to get into all the nitty gritty of bowling, but I will tell you just so you know when when you bowl, we're talking about 10 pin bowling. Their pins are the lane goes, the alley, the lane, anyway, whatever, goes like this, and the pins are in a triangle formation, and they're actually numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and those are pretty sloppy, but and you don't really need to know that, except that there's certain splits, like there's a called a 7-10 split, which is when you leave just these two outside pins here, and if you hit it just the right way, you can come down and knock one of these pins and it'll fly across and knock down the other pin, and that's a pretty awesome thing if you manage to get out of a 7-10 split. But the basic thing I want you to know is there are 10 pins. So whenever we score, that's where the numbers are coming from. All right, this one, I still haven't gotten this. I got to work on that. I think I know how to do it. I just haven't done it. So we'll just use this. By the way, this is an ASMR style video, so it's not about getting the information to you super quickly as much as just kind of talking about it. And I can't do two things at once. You all know that now, right? It's more just to distract you a little bit. So, all right, there are what they're called frames in bowling. So there are 10 frames in a game. I'm going to try to number them first just to help me align this because I don't feel like measuring it out, Oh, I could have made that. Well, no, that's pretty good because 5's right in the center. 6, 7, 8. I'm running out of room. 10. Okay. 1, 2. smearing it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10. Okay. So, besides the bowling league I was on, I also took bowling as a college credit. And it was at the university, their bowling lanes were very old. They were probably built, that wasn't very good, but they were probably built in the 1940s. So they definitely, you used paper to mark your score. I could have done this before, but I hope I made that big enough. Okay, so each frame, which is each time you're like up to bowl, so you're taking turns with other players, and each time you come up to bowl, you get to throw the ball 2 times. And if you knock, say, 3 of the pins down, then you would write that. Okay, hold on. Let me try to make this nice and big. Okay, so the first ball you throw, you hit 3 of the pins down. Then you write the number 3. That's ball 1. And this will be ball 2. So the next time you hit another 4 pins down. So you write down 4. And then you add those 2 numbers up, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that would be your score for that frame. So you hit 7 of the pins down. So that's if you do that. Now sometimes you might hit in your first ball 3 pins, and then the next ball goes in the gutter. There are gutters on the side of the bowling lane, and it goes in the gutter. So you hit 0 pins, then you just put a line there, and you'd get 3 points for that frame. Sometimes you might hit 9 of the pins, and then the next frame you have 1 pin left, and you line it up and you throw that ball and you hit that pin. Then you'll get what's called a spare. And a spare means you hit all the pins down in 2 balls. So it took you 2 balls, but you hit them all down. And then you'll get a line like this. And you don't score that right away. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Sorry, I'm getting a frog in my throat. So then, oh boy, it's getting messy. If you, on your very first ball, walk up and you wiggle your little ball and put it down there, and you get all of the pins down at once, that is called a strike. And a strike puts an X through the box, and you don't throw a second ball because you've already hit all the pins down. So then you're done for that frame, but you don't score it yet. Okay, I think those are all the different. Well, and of course there is, you could go up there and the first ball you don't hit any, and the second ball you don't hit any, and you just take a goose egg for that one. So that could happen too. But that's not going to happen. We're going to be better than that. Okay. If you get what I showed you before, the spare, then in the next frame, ball 1, ball 2, whatever you get on ball 1 is added into your score for this score. That will be your score for this one. So let's say you throw this ball and you hit 3 pins. before you even throw your second ball, you can go ahead and add the score for this. So now you know you hit all 10 pins in this one, so you get 10, plus you add in the 3 from your first ball after a spare. So then you have 13 here. And then you go over here, and let's say you hit another 2 pins down. So now you've hit 5. You add all of that to this. So you'd get 18 for your second frame. So you're adding 5, you're adding 13 plus the 5, and you're getting 18. So really you get scored this 3 2 different times. You're getting it with the 10 on the 13, and then you're also getting it in this one. Okay. I think this it feels complicated when you're first learning it or when you're trying to explain it, but once you understand it, it's pretty strong. I'm going to redo this. It looks sloppy. Okay, hold on. We'll go ahead and do 2 frames worth because I want to show you. Okay, so here's ball 1, here's ball 2, here's ball 1, here's ball 2. Let's say you got a strike. A strike is where you hit all the balls down in one ball. So you're only counting your first frame. You don't score this. And what you will do is the next 2 balls that you throw will count towards this. With a spare, it's the next 1 ball, but with a strike, it's the next 2. So let's say you hit 3 here, and 7, no, that's not right, because that would be all of them. Sorry, hold on, let me redo that. This is one thing, my math is not that great. 6, although you think counting up to 10. Okay, so you hit 3 in the first ball and 6 in the second ball. So to this 10, you're going to add both of these. So this score would be 19. And then you also add, for this frame, these 2. So then you're going to go 19. I'm going to count with my fingers. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. I am a finger counting fool, just so you guys know. So you've added the strike plus these 2 to get 19. And then on this frame, you add the 19 to the 9. Okay, that is really clear. I think we're all clear. Are we done? Should I end the video? I will not. I will show you a whole game here, maybe a couple. I actually looked up, online, so I did borrow this from somebody who had planned out a game because I was practicing with the numbers they gave. Just so you know, I should probably credit, but I don't know. It may have been on Brunswick's website. But anyways, just numbers. It's, it's not like a big deal. All right. So let's say the first ball you throw, okay, this is frame 1, ball 1. You throw, how do I want to start? Which ones? All right, let's start with this. Okay, you throw and you hit 8 balls. Excuse me. And then the second ball you miss. It goes in the gutter. Boom. So on that frame 1, how many points would you have? 8. You'd have 8 points. And then the second frame, you hit, the second frame, the first ball, you hit 7. And then you get a gutter. Dang it, you got a gutter ball. So now you add 8 plus 7 is 15. So 15. Okay. And now then third frame, the first ball, you hit 5 down, and the second ball, you hit 3. So you're going to add those up to 8 and add 15 plus 8. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23. There is no harm in counting on your fingers. Although my teachers always would yell at me. I used to hide my hands under my desk, and this one teacher would still see me and go, Linda, keep your hands on the desk. It's just a visual thing for me. Okay, on the 4th frame, you've hit, oh, I made it too narrow. Can I even write it? Oh, God. Okay. All right, well, that's a 9. You hit 9 balls, the first ball of the 4th frame. I don't know what I just said. I think I called it the first frame. But anyway, the first ball of the 4th frame, you hit down 9. So you have 1 ball left to hit. And you get up there and throw it, and bam, you hit it down. So you got a spare. Because a spare is when you hit all the balls down in 2 balls. That's a spare. So now you have a spare, and you go, yes, that's good. So you don't score this yet because you're going to add the first ball of the next frame to this to come up with the total. All right, so now we're in the 5th frame, and you do an awesome thing, and you get 9 again. So now you add 10 and 9 is 19. So you're going to add 23 plus 19 is 12. Carry the 1. 42. So your score would be 42. All right. So now you're on your 2nd ball, and you get up there and you throw it off, and you got another spare. What? So now you don't put a score in here yet because you're going to wait for your first ball, the 6th frame. Okay, so on the 6th frame, you throw your first strike ever. Yeah. So now this 10 gets added to this 10, so you get 20 points. So to 42, you're going to add 20. So right here, you're going to have 62 points. But this one you're leaving blank because you have to wait for the next 2 balls. Because a strike, you add in the next 2 balls. So with a spare, you get the next, you do the score of the spare, which is 10, plus 1 ball. And a strike is your 10 plus the next 2 balls. I think that's a good way to explain that. I'm trying to think if there's any. We'll go through some things here. Okay, so now we're up to 62, which is pretty good. And then you've gotten a strike, and now you got to wait for these next ones. Okay, so on the 7th frame, the first ball you hit 8. I should have made these bigger. You hit 8 more pins. And then the next ball, you hit a gutter ball. But that's okay. So now you add 8. Because this one you didn't get any points. So just the 8 to the 10. So you're adding 62 plus 18. Let me do it the other way because I do math better that way. I should have brought a calculator because this is getting rough. Okay, so you got 80. All right. And then on this one, you just add the 8. So you're at 88. Okay. So this is looking like an okay game for a beginner. I'm proud of you. All right. So now on frame 8, ball 1, you got a 5. Boom. And then ball 2, you got a 1. So what do? You take your 88 plus 6. 88, 89, 90, 91, 2, 93, 94. Okay. And then the ninth frame. The first ball comes out of the gate, you got a 3. And then you hit a spare. So you don't score that until you have the next 1 ball. Okay, but that's pretty exciting. Now, the 10th frame, instead of having 2 balls, you can get 3 balls. And the way you'd get 3 balls is if you hit a strike, and then you get another chance, and if you hit another strike, and then you get another strike. That would be one thing. Or, oh gosh, that was too messy. Okay, hold on. Or, if you were to get 3 and then a spare, then you'd get 1 more ball. Right? Hold on, I'm thinking. Now I'm panicking. Yeah. Then you'd get 1 more ball. So if you knock all the pins down within 2, then you get 1 more ball. I'm being quiet because I'm double thinking that. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So on the 10th frame, you got 9 on your first one. So now you add the 9 to the 10 from the 9th frame. So this frame you have 19. So you're adding 94 plus 19, which is 104. 113. I was going to get embarrassed if I had to pull my fingers out again. I still want to double check. Hold on. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 9, 10, 11. Dang right, it's 113. Okay. So now you have 9. And then the next one, you biffed it. You didn't get any more. So you add 9 to 13. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I could have done that in my head, you guys. So your total score is 122, which is a perfectly good game for a new bowler. Good job. All right. So I did take some scores. I just took the scores on some of these, so we're still doing all the math. Free range. But I hope that made it a little more clear. So if you get a strike, then you have to add the next 2 balls, or you get to add the next 2. If you got a spare, you add the next 1. All right, so let's do, I hope I got that all right. Let's do another one. Yeah, maybe I'll do another video, with just like the basics of bowling. I would say there's one thing that maybe if there are people who bowl on here could tell me. When I grew up, and maybe it was because I was on the league, but it was like, I remember it was a big deal. My dad and I were on the league together, and he'd always say, you have to wait for the person next to you to bowl, to let go of their ball before you get into the lane. And you could like let's say these are 2 lanes. You could stand here and start kind of thinking your shot through, but you had to wait until this guy dropped his ball before you started to move forward. And I thought that was just a regular bowling courtesy rule. But I've noticed lately when I bowl, not lately, but for years really, when I bowl, other people don't do that. So I don't know if that's just a league courtesy thing, or is that something like, it seems like a nice thing to do anyway. I always wait, unless it's like a little kid who's goofing around and got bumpers up or something. Speaking of which, not to be judgy, but I think if you're older than, if you are strong enough to hold the ball and have any kind of control over it, even if you stink, I think you shouldn't use bumpers because they kind of train you in bad technique. I've seen people kids, and I guess it's just fun, I'm not one to take away people's fun. Wow, that was a big one. But they're using bumpers when they have total strength and control of the ball and just like banging it down, and then they get a strike and act like it's. Somebody asked if I was ever a teacher, and I said no, because I hate other people's kids. Maybe there's truth. Not all of them. I've seen a cute one time. Okay. What should we do now? We're going to do, okay, I took some numbers here. So, okay, on the first ball of the first frame, by the way, when I was on the league that I was on, one time I went to the vending machine and put in my quarters and got a Dr. Pepper, and I played like the best game I'd ever played. So after that, I like believed that on the fourth frame of the second, I don't know, there was some voodoo. If I got the Dr. Pepper and like drank so many sips, I scored better. Isn't it weird when you play sports how you can get like that? Anyway, but it was fun because so every time I drink Dr. Pepper, I think of bowling. All right, so the first frame, you got 8 pins down, and the second frame, you hit down all the rest of the pins. So what is that? That is a spare. So you put a cross halfway through. I'm pretty sure it goes this direction. So when you have a spare, you put like a halfway through. I mean, what's the word? Just one. When you have a strike, it's like that. It's an X. So that means you hit all the pins down in one ball, and then the halfway is all the pins in 2 balls. Okay. So we're not going to score this because we're waiting for the first ball of the second frame. So on that, you hit down 9. So then you can score this. So you add 10 plus 9. And I don't have to pull out my fingers. That's 19. And then the next one, you biffed it. So you add the 9 to the 19, which is 28. So, like I said, you're basically getting this 9 2 times. You're getting it with the spare, and then again as the first as the score for this round. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So then the next one, the third frame, the first ball, you got 4 of the pins, and the second ball, you got 4 more pins. So what are you adding to 28? You're adding 4 plus 4, which is 8. So 16 is 36. So you're adding 36. Okay. So the fourth frame, this is why getting spares and strikes is so important. Because you can bowl pretty good and be like, oh man, I did pretty good. But if you're not getting strikes or spares, your points value goes down pretty quickly. Like, look how much this helped you out. It gave you a lot more points. All right. So for the fourth frame, you got 7 on the first one. And then you hit another 2 more. So 7, 8, 9. So you're off by 1. But so to 36, you're adding 9. So 45 is what your score is. Okay. So in the fifth frame, you got 9, and then you biffed it. So to 45, you're adding 9, which brings you to 54. All right. Good job, guys. Everybody understanding up to here? Raise your hand if you're not. if I did like a live. Okay, so in the 6th frame, you threw your ball and knocked every single pin down. They went flying and clattering about. The crowd goes wild, and that is called a strike. So you put an X there. Now you're not going to score this until your next 2 balls have been thrown. So you're waiting for your next 2 before you score it. So now you're on frame 7. And guess what happened, you guys? You threw that ball and all the pins went flying and you got another strike. So now that's 1 ball, you got another strike. So you're still not scoring that. You got to wait. This is exciting. Now you're getting excited. Now you go up and you're like, I'm going to get another strike. Here I go. And you got 8 pins. So now you have your next 2 balls. I think that's right. So you're adding 10, 28. So you 54, and then you got 10 for that strike. You got 10 for that strike, and you got 8. So 254, you're adding 28. So this is 12 and 5, 6, 7, 8. So for the 6th frame, you have 82. Because you had 54, and then you added 10, 28, because these were your next 2 balls. Okay? But here's the thing. So now you can't score this frame until you have 2 balls. So you've already thrown your first ball in your 8th frame, and your second ball, you biffed it, and you didn't get any points. So now you're saying 10 plus 8 plus 0. So to 82, you're adding 18. So you're at, I just said you're wrong, hold on. 82 to 18. Wait, 80, 50, 54, 64, 74. No, it's right. Sorry for that long delay. Did you think for a minute that I cut off on you? Yeah. All right. And then you add 8. So now you're at 108. Okay. And then in the 9th, you've scored a 3. And then you throw your second ball, and you've scored a 5. I feel like we should have made that well, okay. So you're adding 8 to 108. So you're at 116. Now you're on your 10th frame where you get to do 3 balls. If within the first 2 you get a strike or a spare, then you get the 3rd ball. Otherwise, you don't get that 3rd ball. You only get 2. So the first one you scored a 9. And then you knocked down the other pin, so you got a spare. So now you get to throw 1 more ball. And on that one, you got a 7. So you add those up to 17. So you're going to take 116 and add to 17. So that's 13, and that's 3, and that's 1. So your final score will be 133. You know, it's funny because you know how you should trust your gut. When I mapped this out, I put all these numbers on here, and my son had kind of written what he thought the scores were, but he had an error, and that's what I saw what he had. And I kept looking at it going, well, that's not what I came up with. But I think he corrected it, but I don't see it written there. Anyway, but I think this is correct in the end. But that's why I had that pause, because I was like, wait, I can see he wrote something underneath where I was writing. So let's double check. 82, 92, 100. Yep. 108. Yes. 116. And this is 10 and 7. So yeah, 17. Yeah. All right. Did I tell you I'm not an expert at this? But I think we got it all in the end there, guys. So yeah, so if you have a strike, then you add the next 2 balls. If you have a spare, you add the next 1 ball on top of the score, that the 10 points. So these are worth 10 points each because they're 10 pins. It's how many pins you knock down. And then you add these pins. So hopefully that helps. This all came about partially because my son went bowling yesterday. And, you know, it's all electronic. And he was trying to do the math and figure out how they came up with all the numbers that they did, because he was getting a lot of strikes and spares. And so he asked me about it because he knows that I got most improved bowler in 82. So I was talking about it, and that's what led us into this. Anyway, all right, well, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I don't think so. I think that's it. Yeah, I want to go bowling sometime soon. Maybe it'll trigger some memories about it. I was thinking about, like, you know, how to pick the weight of your ball, which I always just grab a few and see which one's working for me that day. I generally just throw a straight ball, which is not, you know, if you're good, you're throwing a curve. I used to kind of know how to do that, but I don't know, it doesn't work for me right now. But I'm pretty good at lining up a straight ball. Anyway, all right, guys, well, I hope that was relaxing, and maybe if you wanted to learn something, you did.